What do I wish that I knew sooner in Jiu Jitsu? Is it that expensive gear doesn't make your game better? Or that you shouldn't waste every single paycheck, not quite every single paycheck, on instructional videos? All of those are great suggestions, but the first thing that I wish I had known sooner in Jiu Jitsu was to train lighter and think bigger. You don't always have to go all out and hard all the time on the mat. In fact, probably the best use of your mat time and training partners is technical skill development, using that time wisely. You can always push the gas pedal further in the weight room, on the track, things like that. And yes, there is a place and a need for hard competitive rounds, developing that killer instinct and that super sharp, fast timing. However, that's not something you can sustain all the time, bro. The think bigger part is really about thinking of a systems and principles approach. Less about what does a hammer do, and more like how does a hammer work and where can I apply a hammer different places. The second thing I wish I knew sooner in Jiu-Jitsu was that volume corrects and there are no shortcuts. Again, kind of a double whammy here. I'm cheating a little bit, but what I mean is that volume does correct. A lot of people throw around the idea that they don't want to learn, they don't want to practice doing a technique incorrectly or inefficiently, so they don't want to get reps of the wrong thing in. And that's partly true. It is definitely harder to unlearn and relearn something when you've put a lot of time into doing it incorrectly or inefficiently. However, I'd argue that they simply haven't put in enough repetitions for that to matter. And that seems a little bit pedantic, but let's look at like a squat, for example, or a deadlift. You might be able to get away with lifting with really bad technique. And in fact, you can still get stronger with bad technique. However, inevitably, the volume is going to add up. You're going to get injured. Now, that's not a good thing, but it does correct in the sense that you can't get away with doing it wrong any longer. So too in Jiu-Jitsu. If you're really putting in tens of thousands of repetitions, it almost doesn't matter how bad the first ones are, because we're all bad when we do it at first. The idea is that you gradually increase your efficiency, the resistance grows, you get more efficient, and if you're really putting in tens of thousands of repetitions, that's not all on 10,000 reps on like some 10-year-old kid or something like that. You're going to get more resistance, you're going to get more savvy opponents, so if you're truly focusing on volume, I think it does correct at least a lot of problems, especially when we consider the second part of the second thing that I mentioned, and that is that there are no shortcuts. I have tried numerous brain hacky things to try to count progress, measure progress, and really would say that they all worked about the same, that they gave me a mental outlet. But the bigger picture is there are no shortcuts. You must put in the time, you must put in the volume one way or another. Piggybacking on the second point, the third thing I wish I knew sooner was what it will cost you for greatness, what it will cost you to succeed, and again, double dipping a little bit, what does and doesn't matter, and that those things can and do change. So what I mean by all that is if you want to put in that volume that we talked about in point number 2, then it's going to cost you something. Whether you want to get that volume in 5 years versus 15 years is going to require something much different of you, your family, your friends, your partners, all of those things, your career maybe even, are going to take hits to accomplish those. And that's not to say it's good or bad, which is why I threw in that slight disclaimer. What is important to you? And that is going to change. So to recap, here are the 3 things that I wish I knew sooner in Jiu-Jitsu. Number 1, train lighter and think bigger. Number 2, volume corrects, and there is no shortcut. Number 3, know what success will cost, what you're willing to pay, what you want to get, and be willing for those things to change. Of course, be sure to like, share, and subscribe to this channel. All that good stuff. I really enjoy teaching and learning Jiu-Jitsu and drawing out these bigger picture topics. Let me know what else you want to see in the comments.